Friday evening where I am. I hope you've had a restful, wind down to your evening. Um, Wherever you are, I hope your working week was great. I hope it wasn't too stressful. I hope you have something planned for the long weekend. So, I'm Ochiko. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On here, we discuss all things worship and lifestyle. Um, I'm about to start a 21-day journaling challenge to help you take control of some of the aspects of your life that you can take control over. The whole idea is to build capacities and the quantities of love, peace, and joy in your life. My day job is a teacher, so I'll be using some of those formats to communicate my ideas to you. If you do like what you hear and see, please stick around, give the live a like, share it to somebody if you find it useful, leave some comments, and subscribe to my channel. Good stuff. Okay, if you were here on with me on the last session, we looked at brokenness and this idea that the world is broken. You don't need to be a prophet, you don't need to be specially intelligent. Around the ages of 10, 12, or even older, you begin to realize actually, or even younger, sorry, you actually realize that the world is weird and it feels like it's not meant to be that way. It feels like it's not meant to be that painful. It feels like there was another way things were. Feels like something is amiss, okay? And scripturally, so for those of you that are Christian, you will have heard this: all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So there's this idea in Christianity that the world was in a perfect state, man sinned, and the world fell from glory. So you can go and watch the other episode. I think I've called it Day Zero B. I might change it to episodes actually, because it might be easier to find. So yeah, this concept that when sin entered into the world, there was a split between God and man, and as a result, man also didn't know how to relate to themselves. There's a brokenness within man, but there's also a brokenness between man and other man. There's like a disunity. So you find war, hatred, killing, all these kinds of things that we see in the world. But there's also a brokenness between man and the world. So we overuse the resources that are available on the earth, and we're not as mindful as we should be about the environment, etc., etc. And it then feels like there's a response then to try and repair the world, and people are using different avenues to try and repair, whether that breakage between man and other men, or man and the world, or even man and God. People trying to restore that when they're looking for the meaning of life, etc. Anyway, today, however, we're going to be focusing. So the whole point of my 21-day journaling session, which I haven't started yet. Oh, can you see the board? Give a bit more. Yeah. The whole point, as I said, I'm kind of focusing on the brokenness between man and himself, and we're trying to use some tools that I've picked up in my life, the young single woman, and trying to understand my world, how to repair this fracture here. That's what the whole prompt is about. But then I realized that before we can even start on the journaling prompt, there's some keywords and some ideas and some concepts I'm going to be using that you do not understand. So in education, we look at that as prior learning. And I don't know the amount of information that you have to be able to access the new content that I'm about to teach you. So as a result, I decided to backtrack, and instead of going straight into the journaling prompt, let's just cover some basics, hence open this up. So today I wanted to look at neuroplasticity, because 2 days ago we looked at the neuron and how the neuron is a cell in the brain. and our nervous system, and it's a whole complex network. And that's how our brain communicates ideas and information back and forth in the body. Now, we have loads of cells connected together, loads of nerve cells, and they form a network. And when you think a thought, whether that's conscious or subconscious, there is an electrical signal that is sent across this network. So let's say the thought is generated. Let's think about it this way, and these are loads of nerves connected together. So that kind of thought line can travel along a path. Let's say it's traveling along this path, and it generates a response somewhere. Okay. Now, in your brain, you have these networks where your thoughts always follow. It's like a road network system that when you have certain thoughts that you think about all the time. Okay. And your thoughts tend to kind of like follow a specific pathway. So you can call it a neuro pathway in your brain. So it's like a track or a road in your mind where thoughts kind of like travel along. Okay. So we call them neuro pathways. Now, these roads, if you like, or tracks in your mind are well beaten tracks. They're well formed. Your brain has learned and developed that path in your mind over a long period of time. That's why you might have the same type of thoughts. So if you're not somebody that is confident, for example, you might have thoughts like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never good at this. I'm never good at maths. I'm never good at science. I'm never good at English. Oh, that's for the smart people. So you hear yourself saying those things, and that's because you've never really challenged that thinking. And that's because there's kind of a fixed path in your mind where your thoughts kind of follow. Okay, so I want to call them neuro pathways. Now, the beauty though is that you can change your mind, and that's kind of the whole point of my journaling session. You can change your mind. You can build new tracks. I want to use a different color. You can build new tracks in your mind. Let's use this. I don't know if that's visible. That's not visible. You can build new tracks in your mind. You can create a new set of neural pathways, and that's what neuroplasticity is all about. It's almost like our brain has this ability to morph and change. So your thoughts don't always have to go down this pathway, okay? Even though this is a well-developed structure, and it's kind of fixed, you've thought a certain way for a long time, okay? Neuroplasticity, though, and this has been proven, is this idea that you can actually change those pathways, but also you can develop new track roads in the mind, new networks, build a new system of thoughts so that instead of your thoughts, let's say your thoughts are coming, instead of them going this way, you can kind of push them to go this way. Okay. Notice that I've used this sort of diagrams that look like trees to draw them. Okay. So a pioneer in this school of thought is somebody called Dr. Caroline Leaf. She started this work on neuroplasticity about 25 years ago in South Africa, where she gathered children from really deprived areas who, have the odds stacked up against them, but kind of started to teach them new ways of thinking. Hi, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Started to teach them new ways of thinking. I'm doing really well, thank you. How are you? We are trying to teach them new ways of thinking, new ways of assessing things. And so she's one of the major thinkers. She's of Christian belief as well. But there's a lot of psychologists as well that are coming out with this idea of neuroplasticity. Good, 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 good. Glad to hear it. Thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, so Dr. Carolyn Leaf is one of the pioneer thinkers in this area. Okay. Now, I think what's interesting is that in Romans, the book of Romans, Romans chapter 12, verse 2, for those of you who are Christian, you might have come across this. So I am Christian, I am of Christian faith. So a lot of things I'll be sharing with you would be, you know, tilted towards that. There's no way it's not going to come out, right? Again, you don't have to be a Christian to participate as well. But in Romans 12, chapter 2, Paul, who writes the book, says something very profound. He says, renew your mind, be transformed by renewing your mind. Be transformed by renewing your mind. Another version, I believe New Living Translation says, be transformed by changing the way that you think. So this idea then of neuroplasticity is almost reflected first in that scripture. So we can move our brain from its kind of rigid format into another format of thinking. Dr. Caroline Leaf has this app which is called a neurocycle app, and she talks about for you to be able to change this thought into a new kind of thinking, you might need to deconstruct to slowly start removing these other old pathways and generating these newer ways of thinking. Okay. And as so doing, you kind of create a new sense of who you are, a new positive mindset. So a lot of people are venturing into that. So things where you look at affirmations, positive affirmations, uh, that's sort of the new school of thought. You would have heard it, everybody, my daily affirmations, it's a whole new trend now, in this new brand of self-care, right? And if you don't know what positive affirmations are just, saying good things. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it, saying good things about yourself and so on. So it's kind of, linked to it. But the problem with positive affirmations is sometimes it's just on the surface. So if you Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Ooh, 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 ooh. Is there any sign? Okay. Thank you so much. Um, guys, you know that yesterday I used the pen to draw on my outfit. I felt really bad. Okay. And I'm probably gonna go off in about 10 minutes. We're gonna keep it at 30 minutes. That's the discipline. Okay, so there's a school of thought that it takes 40 days to change a mindset and 63 days to kind of like form a new habit. So there needs to be a bit of consistency if we're going to try and repair this break between man and self. There's a lot of tools. Positive affirmation is one of them. Therapy, as I said, counseling, etc., etc. But the key is consistency. Okay, the key is consistency. And I remember saying yesterday that it's you have to be ready to want to do this. And I was saying to you, like, not some sort of reverse psychology. There's no, I was saying don't get on it if you're not ready. But actually I reflected on that yesterday and I thought, I don't think that's good advice because I'd read so many self-help books, okay? My whole journey, my whole quest into this trying to heal, if you like, repairing this breakage. I didn't even know that there was a break or a hurt between me and myself. Okay. And my whole journey started because of one thing, believe it or not. I was really desperate for a life partner, really, really desperate. Was just a little bit confused as to why I wasn't finding anybody or getting into relationships and when I do they end so badly. Like when I mean badly, they end like I'm always like it takes me a long while to get over relationships. I'm the type of person that gets, I know it's so sad. I get so attached, so invested. Like I always believe this person is the one, we're gonna get married, have children. And then it just something happens and I get so heartbroken and I'm gonna be like, it takes me a while to recover, right? So I had to do this, I had to go into this deep journey. And I read so many books. One of them or two of them were written by this woman. There's another one called Keeping the Love You Find. I'm still reading that book. It's taken me like 2 years. It's like an intense book, but it's really good. Um and I went on this journey of trying to figure out, but all of them say the same thing, or they kind of point to the same thing. This idea of, restoring your belief in yourself, improving your mindset and your self-worth, changing your thinking patterns, um, and so on. I will be lying to say that my faith has not been a very huge part of that journey. My faith has been 100% one of the biggest part, and I'm going to share that with you in the next couple of days, maybe, of how my faith has come into play. But if I didn't read all these books, so when I was reading all these books, engaging with content on YouTube, I'd lost hope. I was thinking, oh, what's even the point? You know, but actually, I was not necessarily ready to do the work, as it were, to heal, but they were planting the seeds in my mind at the time. Okay, they were dropping the information, like little drops, little drops, little drops, until something happened and my stubbornness broke and I decided, okay, do you know what, I'm gonna get on a journey. And I did a 40 days situation once, and then I did it again. And I will explain what I did in those 40 days. Okay. Whereas my journaling challenge is not going to Well, I don't know. I just think, thank you so much for your kind comments. I think everybody has to get to that point in their life where they decide that they're tired of being defeated by thoughts, by things that happened. And I think I got to the end of myself and I decided I'm kind of done. I need a change, and I needed to go through. Do you know what I mean? And I needed to go through that process of change. So the first 40 days that I did, which I'm gonna lead a session on that, was identifying. So remember, I was looking at this. If you look at this tree as your network of neurons and they develop the way you think, I needed to identify the roots of the tree. Why am I believing what I'm believing? And really think about whether what I'm believing is true about myself. So, an example would be um, I can never be XYZ, right? And the reason would be why. Let's go down to the bottom of why we believe what we're believing. And it involves kind of like digging into your memories to remember why you might have believed that thing in the first place. Okay, maybe something had happened in the past that made you believe that specific thing, and having to rewire that thought process. Okay, so my faith in Jesus played a big part in rewiring that thinking process. So I might do a 40-day challenge on that. But in this 21-day challenge, which we're going to start, I think we have all the basics, all the building blocks. Apart from the fact that next week I'm going to share my faith. Not next week, I think tomorrow or next, I'm going to share my faith and how that linked into me coming up with the 21-day challenge. When we do the 21-day challenge, we're going to look at two key parts. Okay, so the reason why I talked about neuroplasticity is because I want to look at the mind, but we're also going to look at the body as well. Okay, so the 21-day journaling challenge is to help you get in touch with yourself. So we're trying to restore self, okay, man and self, heal that brokenness. So we're going to start with the mind, and we're going to ask ourselves a very simple question: how does my mind feel at peace? Okay, so I'm going to put peace at the top here. What makes me feel peaceful in my mind? Okay, so a very easy one for me is staring out a window. That's very easy for me. If I just stop, and I think people do this anyway in their day-to-day lives. There's something, and it might not be conscious, it might be very subconscious. Before you know, they just do something. Staring at a window quickly just helps me. It just calms me down straight away. Okay, that's in my mind. In my body, taking a bath with candles straight away makes me feel peaceful. Okay. Uh, Another one, making lists. I like to make lists. Once I start like writing down things, it makes me just, helps me come out of whatever I'm doing and gives me a moment. Another one is hugs here. When I give somebody a hug, it makes me feel peace. Notice how the two are different, right? So you can physically feel these ones on your body, right? Whereas with this, it's kind of in the mind. Another one here is massage. I don't know if you've ever gone for a massage, right? It's like the most relaxing thing, like it's so good. Like the list here can go on forever. Going for a spa day makes me feel peaceful. And then here, there are certain people in your life that when you hang around them and have a conversation with them, it doesn't even have to be anything important. You just kind of like You just feel calm, you just feel serene. My brother is one of those people, right? He makes me just feel, there'll be people in your life, you can probably start picking them. Like anytime you fall into their orbit, it's almost like, your peace level just increases and you come away thinking, oh, actually, I didn't need to worry about that, right? So on day one in that journaling session, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the first emotion piece, and we're going to have this list here. And we'll make a list of things that make us feel peaceful, and we remind our body of what, and our mind of what it means to be at peace. And I mean, real peace. You're not thinking about tomorrow, you're not thinking about the day before, you're not thinking about what you have to do, you know, and you just make that list, okay? Thank you. Now, the reason why we were making the list is because we want to be proactive about increasing peace in our lives, right? So if I know that giving hugs makes me feel peaceful, and in my journal, I write down, okay, next week, I'm going to make sure every day I hug somebody. Okay. And that's where you're going to have to take responsibility here and say, okay, I know that giving hugs makes me peaceful. I make a note of hugging 3 people. Um, and speaking to my brother makes me peaceful. And I make a note and say, actually, every day I need to make sure that I ring him up and say hello on the phone. Okay. And then I start to plan my life around actively increasing peace. Like I see online, a lot of people say, oh, I just want peace of mind. I just want peace of mind. In my life right now, I'm not looking for anything that will stress me out. That's all well and good, but what are you doing about that? How are you actively increasing peace? Okay. So in my routine, I make sure that at least once a week I have a salt bath because it's really relaxing for me. Now, a lot of people are already good at this. They already have their life figured out. They already know that at Friday, 7 p.m., nobody can disturb their 30-minute bath time. Okay. And that's what we're going to do in these journaling prompts. We're going to keep ourselves accountable. Now, hopefully, right, the whole point is hopefully at the end of the 21 days, you're going to see a change. Okay. So, what we're going to do before we start the journey, we're going to take account of where our peace level is. Okay, so right now, if I take a pause and I check, how peaceful am I feeling in my mind and in my body? How peaceful am I feeling? I want to say about 50, maybe 55 to 53%. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Kukwizzy. Thank you. Thank you so much for the heart. You can check right now if just, you don't need to write it anywhere, but just think about in your mind, how much peace are you feeling in your body, in your mind and in your body. Mine is at about 55%. Mine is at about 55%. And you can start to think, okay, what are the things, so we made that list before. I want this peace level to be at 100%. What can I actively do to make it 100%? So I go back and I think about my list. And I think, okay, a massage, a bath, a hug. Some of those things are really within reach. Like calling my brother is within reach, right? Taking a bath is within reach. Some of those things are maybe out, like going to the spa might be out of reach, but I can think, okay, maybe next month I can budget to go to the spa. Okay. Now, hopefully, if why this is beautiful is because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you go to the spa. I'm not telling you call your family, right? You're the one who's identifying the things that bring peace in your life and actively deciding to do those things, right? Hopefully, if you've done this consistently for 3 or 4 weeks, what you should notice is that your peace level should increase. Okay? Maybe if I put all these things into practice, you would have seen that it'll increase by 80%, right? Now, what's great is that we can apply this technique to everything. Okay? Oh, I'm on 31 minutes. Ooh, I need to be disciplined. I need to end it soon. I'm going to rush the last 2 seconds. Now, we can apply the same concept to most things. Okay? So we've done peace. Let's do joy. Okay? If I had to sit back now and think, how joyful am I in this moment? I'm actually happy today, of which I don't know why. Okay, maybe I want to say 75%. My joy level is quite high. So what you can do again is make a list of the things that are making you feel joy, okay? Or just think about things that make you feel joy in general, okay? Thank you so much, good Quizzy. Thank you, I appreciate it. Um, when I went to bed last night, I thought actually me coming on live on YouTube, it made me feel joy in my mind because I felt like I was productive with my day and I did something that was outside of work and I felt like I was able to give back. So that would have been one. So YouTube could have been contributing. But also, I've just been to an arcade and I did like the dancing. So dancing. Now notice that these are two separate things. So my coming on YouTube and my doing live, it brought joy, but the joy was kind of in my mind. So I'm going to separate that into mind. But dancing was something that I did physically with my body that brought me joy. And I'm going to put that on the body. Again, like before, there are people that you talk to and they just have this natural ability to make you happy. One of them is my friend Nengi, and most of you on here know her, right? She increases joy level. Okay, you might have seen us, we did a live together and we were just laughing together for ages. We just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. Okay, with Nengi, that's to do with my mind. Okay, but another one is listening to Afrobeats music. That is so powerful for me. Okay, Afrobeat. That's so powerful for me. It helps me get, in the zone, gets me excited. Um, so yeah, what I should do then is make a note and say, actually, next week I'm gonna make sure that I listen to music. I'm gonna make sure that I call my friend Nengi. I'm gonna make sure that I go for a dance, you know, and hopefully again we can see these levels increase over time. Okay. Now I have news that is, I guess, good news and maybe it's good news actually. The same way we can hold peace, the opposite of peace would be like anxiety. So remember earlier I said to you that my peace level was 55%, but it's also you can hold anxiety and peace together in your body. You can hold juxtaposing things. So currently actually my anxiety level is at about 35%. So what we do in the journaling is to identify what are the things that are making this anxiety level 35%. Okay. It could be things that you can control and things that you cannot control. But it's good to identify what might be causing the anxiety. And are you feeling it as a physical pain in your body, or is it making your mind a little bit disoriented or confused? So again, we can split the anxiety. Are you having any physical symptoms? So are you shaking? Is your heart beating faster? We can kind of like split the same way we did with peace and with joy, where we split it into body and with mind. We can look at the symptoms of this. So for me, a symptom of my anxiety would be, or a reason for my anxiety would be overthinking. So something as simple as maybe my flat is untidy. That's a very strong one for me. Untidy flat. That could be a thought, and it starts to spiral from that one thought. It could be, oh, your flat is untidy. How are you going to ever have a stable home? How are you ever going to be organized? This is why you've not managed to keep a relationship. So we started with my flat being untidy. Okay, now that one thought has spiraled into, I'm not good enough to have a husband and have children. That was 100%, like that was a massive, we just went from 0 to 80 in one thought line. Okay, that's an example. That's why I'm feeling the anxiety. Okay, because I've took a simple thought and in my mind it's been magnified, right? Now something like that, tackling a thought like that, tidying my flat might help. Okay, but realize that it's not the fact that the flat is just untidy, is because of the way my mind works. Okay, and so at that point in time, what I need to do is speak truth. So I need to remind myself that actually, no, Achuko, the fact that your flat is untidy doesn't mean XYZ. It's untidy maybe because you haven't had time, you're tired, and what we can do is just plan out a time when we're going to fix it. It doesn't mean you don't have a good, you're not a good person. It doesn't mean you're not a reliable person. But I actively have to take time out and think in the correct pattern. Okay. And that's where neuroplasticity meditation comes in, trying to change that thinking, like Romans 12, renewing the mind, transforming the way you think. Okay. So that's an example of things that cause my anxiety. Now, in the same way, we can have joy. So even if my joy level, I think it was about 75 when we did it, and I've made a list of things that I'm going to do to help me increase my joy. But actually, I'm actually carrying a bit of sadness today. And I want to say I'm at maybe 50%. There's been a bereavement that's made me really sad, actually. Um, and with sadness, it's a bit of a tricky one. Something like sadness, dealing with sadness might just mean waiting it out, talking to somebody, but you will know how you deal with sadness. Okay. I do not suggest binge eating. I have done that before. It does not tackle the sadness. Okay. It gives a temporary relief though. Okay. So there's several things. Exercise, and sometimes you cannot change the reason why you're sad. So for example, bereavement, you know, here's an example of where faith can help if you're somebody of faith, okay? But sometimes if, for example, maybe there's been a falling out with a friend, you might be able to do something about it, but maybe you can't. For example, you're falling out with a friend and you can't talk to that person. what do you do about in that situation, right? So for me, I would pray about it, and I just think, you know what, wherever they are, God